you got to have something that allows you to flip that switch, that allows you to snap out of it. And I'm getting trademarked right now. It's simple. It's reset, but it has meaning. But think about it. It's like reset your fucking mind, reset your attitude, reset whatever. But what reset means is relentlessly embrace suffering en route to triumph.
Hey, what's up? I'm Steve Eckert, United States Marine, entrepreneur and instructor of the project, and welcome to the Project Show. This show is all about men who are in search of meaningful transformations in what we call the 4 F-bombs: the family, the fitness, the finances, and their faith. And this occurs through emotional, physical, and mental hardship and sacrifice so that they can become better fathers, husbands, leaders, entrepreneurs, and better men in general. Today I want to welcome a special guest, a graduate of class 003 and the honor man of class 003, Chris Weichman. Thanks for coming by. Awesome to see you as usual. I've known Chris now for several years. Chris, can you just introduce to the audience yourself, what you do, your family?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. My name's Chris Weichman. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I own 2 Fit Body Bootcamp studios with Bedros Keuilian's franchise. I also do an advisor business for leadership advising for corporate entities. I'm married. My wife and I are both retired military, and we have 3 kids. I have twin daughters that are 13 and a 10-year-old son.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Mm-hmm. So let's just jump right into it. Yeah. Let's just think back, and if you can remember when you were first hearing about the project, you were the 3rd class. When you first saw it, what was it that you saw that just grabbed you and told you, spoke to you and said, this is something I need to become a part of at this time in my life? What was it that really resonated with you? Yeah,
so through my military career, I had the opportunity to do several training iterations or courses that were very similar. So being removed from the military, I had a gap, which like many veterans do once they get out, that there's a void. Whether it's brotherhood, whether it's a sense of belonging, being a part of a tight-knit community. And I immediately was compelled or pulled to the project because I felt that could fill that void again. It was kind of exciting too, in a kind of a sick-minded way that, oh yeah, I'd love to go get it on again.
I think you have to be a little fucking twist in the head to see some of the crazy videos on there and read about it, and especially you after you were the 3rd class, you saw footage and videos in another class, to see it and actually say, you know what, I want in on that action. So you got to be, a little twisted in the head, and you certainly have known you for so many years. You are a little fucking twisted in the head, I think. So
that's what makes us good.
So on a deeper level than that, even what were some of the struggles or adversity you were going through, or things you needed to just, I like to say, unfuck about yourself? And what we're looking really to achieve out of it, other than filling that void?
Yeah, so, straight up honesty, my military career, matter of fact, this week is my 15-year anniversary. Out of 15 years, my wife and I have actually spent 7 anniversaries together because I deployed like crazy. I just, different trips, different things that I had done. And our marriage is great, but my wife learned to build a coping mechanism of, okay, he's going to be leaving again soon. So getting that acceptance back in the family, now being out of the military, there was this wall, and it was just, I didn't have that relationship that I desired. I needed a connection with my wife and my kids. They had all built that coping mechanism up of like, well, Dad's here just temporarily until he has to go on his next trip. And it was a real struggle. It was really hard to know what I needed to be and who I needed to be to get that back, or to even conceivably create that, because for my kids, that's all they knew is my military career. They knew that Dad comes home for a short while and is gone a long time. And it was pretty volatile at home sometimes, not in so much the fights or arguing or any of that, as much as it was just not able to connect, not having a relationship with your kids. They feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you about things, or because they don't know how long you're going to be there, or if you're going to be able to actually do anything about it. So I needed to either relate with people that have gone through that or were going through that, and or be able to find a way and confide in somebody that I could trust to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. You know, outside eyes, outside ears, somebody who might be able to relate, even if it's gone through a different experience. Mm-hmm. How do you do that as with the way we're wired with, you know, somebody that you're so close, your family?
And to be able to do that and speak to another man like that, being vulnerable, right? And
right.
Not have to feel like you're being a bitch or being soft or weak. I think that's a problem with men. They think that if you talk to another man about these types of things, that it makes them a soft. They think they need to be a Billy Badass, and it makes them not Billy Badass. I think a real badass is a man like yourself who's willing to kill for your country, but also willing to be able to be vulnerable like this and talk about it. That's what a real badass is. And again, I appreciate your service, and I can imagine what it's like having, you know, kids and being gone for such a long amount of time. That's a stress and a struggle. So it sounded like the project was exactly what you needed to fill that void. That's awesome stuff. Appreciate you sharing that with us. So once you realized, you know, this is what I need to get involved with, you made that decision this week. What were some of the hesitations you were having when it came down to actually following through with it and getting registered and making it happen?
Yeah, no, you know, it's I would say I probably walked the path of all of it, that everybody, you know, go to the wife and like, yeah, we don't have the money for that, or, you know, you're going to go off. You know, for me, being gone all the time, like, oh, you want to go again?
Going again.
Right? So
when's it going to end?
Right. Yeah. You know, it's like, well, how is this going to be different than what you did in the military? And that was a big one, because my wife knows that, okay, you've gone and suffered and done things like this, and like, why are you going? You know, are you going to just get your rocks off? You know, like, like, why would you do this? Like, and I actually had to take a couple months to figure out, like, okay, well, why do I need to do this? Because in her mind, I got paid to do things like this before. Now I'm going to pay somebody and go back through this again. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you were medically retired from the military. They deemed you unfit, and yet you want to go do something like this again. And for me, it was, I finally clicked. I was like, you know what? One, I want the camaraderie. I want the brotherhood back. And it's an investment in me because I hadn't been tested. And what I mean by that is, military, yes, I'd been tested. I'd gone through this stuff. I jump school, dive school, you know, all the works, the career field that I had. But now that I was technically disabled by the military, like, what does that mean to me? Like, what are my limits? Have I pushed past my perceived limits to find where I'll try to break myself.
Is your life on the downhill? Like, you proved yourself. You still have a lot more left in you, a lot more in the tank to give than...
That was it. So I was like, you know what? That's well worth any investment to be able to have that back and then have that belonging again and be able to have, you know, people that you can relate to.
So let me ask you, how did you get your wife on board with that? Because it being gone for years, getting paid, and that's a great point you made. You were getting paid to do it. Now you're going to go pay to go do it.
Right.
And it's a significant amount. This is the highest level of personal development you could have in the world to join the project. You know, outside of the military, this is as good as it gets. So how did you get her on board and be able to go through this?
Yeah, I sat down with her and I told her, I was like, hey, look, I need this because, and I related to her, I was like, I need this to be able to have a better relationship with you and find a way better for us to connect and connect with our kids. And I said, whether you want to call me an adrenaline junkie or thrill seeker or whatever it is, like, you know me, my whole career, I'd walk out the door living life on edge. Whether I was going to jump out of a plane, I was deploying, I was working with X, Y, and Z guys, whatever I was doing, it was like, I'd come home and tell you stories. I'm like, okay, you know, but it's like, I haven't had that, and I don't know where I'm going to get that in the future, right? I said, so I don't have anybody to relate to that's like-minded, and I said, I need that. I've got to have it, whether it's as a guy, whether it's just the way I'm wired, whether it's like, so I see this as an opportunity to do that. And she's like, okay, we'll figure it out. But she always figure out how to cash flow it. So once I figured that out, she's like, go. So
you got the support of, because I'll tell you, that's what I hear from men a lot, and I think most of the time it's their excuse that my wife isn't on board with it. And what if your wife wasn't on board with it? How would that go? And this is just totally off the cuff. This is nothing that we have planned to talk about or anything. Just curious, how would you go about that? Like, realizing that you need this in order to be better for her, right? But she's not on board with it because you weren't good with her in the first place. Does that make sense? Like, so how do you convince her of it when you know you need it for her, but she doesn't think you need it because you've been kind of clashing a little bit by being away? What would happen if she wasn't on board with it, but you know that this is what you needed to better your relationship with her? She just doesn't understand that yet until after you actually go through it. How would that go down?
You know, I think we have a strong enough relationship that if I went to her and be like, hey, you just need to trust me on this, she would back off enough. She may not like it. She may not still agree with it, but we've always been the couple that we can agree to disagree. But she trusts me enough to know that I'm not going to jeopardize or put our family at risk. And that's part of it too, is, you know, one, trust and risk is like relating like, hey, you need to trust me that I'm going to make sure to see this through, and I'm not going to put us in that hardship and you know, that risk aspect of it too is like, I will, no matter what happens, I'm not going to put you and our children and our future at risk.
So you had enough strong enough relationship and enough trust that even if she's 100% against it, you still could have gone and done this.
Yeah, I would have probably been in the doghouse for a little while, but coming back.
But it's be worth it because you're going to come back and you're going to get out of that doghouse quick from different skills. Because that's the point I want to make to men out here, because I speak to men every day, tons of men, and they'll say their wife just wasn't on board with it, and that's why they're not going to do it. But that's the exact fucking reason why they need to do it, because their wife's not on board with it, because they're clashing. So even though they're 100% against it, they need to go do it. And let me get your opinion on this. And not saying yourself, but if a man said, oh, if I go do something like this, I know I need it, I'm 100% committed to it, I need to do it, my wife's 100% against it, if I go do it, she's going to divorce me. What do you think about that relationship in general?
No, you definitely need to step back and reflect, like, okay, if this is something that's that important to you and you know it's in an effort to fix the relationship you have, there's an unwillingness on the opposite side, and you need to question it. I mean,
because I'll hear that like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
They'll use the D word all the time. My wife will divorce me if I can go do this. She's against it. And they know they need it because they're fucked up. The fact that the wife is saying something like that, I think, is the exact reason why they need to fucking do it anyway. You know what I mean? Because they need something. Obviously, what they're doing is not working. If their wife is throwing out around the D word over going to do a personal development program, they're looking to become a better husband, better father, better leader. Think about that. And it's exactly what you said. They need to probably question that relationship, because that's, I think, a huge point. Because when I asked you, what would you do if your wife was 100% against it, you said you was strong, and that's powerful. That's some deep shit, and I appreciate you sharing that. You would do it anyway. She might be a little pissed off about it, but when you got home, you're gonna make it right so fast because of probably the skills that you just upgraded and sharpened the saw when you were away. So it'd be all worth being in the doghouse in the months leading up to the class or whatever.
Yeah, you know, and the other part of it too is it comes down to if you're already making those excuses, then, you know, as a graduate now and somebody who's gone through courses like this, it's like, okay, look, man, you got to want it. Like, if you're going to go to your wife and you're willing to take that kind of sacrifice, you better want it. So if you're willing to accept that if you go to this, I'm going to be divorced, and you believe that, then you're not passionate enough about that you need this to fix your marriage.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
it makes sense perfectly. Like the excuse they're using is the exact fucking reason why they need to do it in the first place. It's like reverse engineering it.
If I had to, I would sell my Harley, sell whatever off to get the money, just to say, hey, look, just to prove to you, I've got the cash now in hand, and this is what it's going to. And I sold my personal belongings just so you understand how committed I am to try to fix our relationship.
So if you would have not done it, it wouldn't have been because of her. It would have been because of you, right? If you would have found the reason not to do it. Oh, I can't afford it. But if I have to sell a motor, if I have to do this to that to come up with the money, there's always a way to make it happen. Like these are always just excuses that men fall in that revolving pattern, and that's why their wife threatens to divorce them over shit like this, because that's the exact reason why they need it, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what it sounds like you're saying. And that's some good stuff. That's some deep stuff there, and I'm glad we got to really cover that. So let's go into the project itself, the experience, the fun we had together, sharing some fun together. It was a fucking blast. I need this. I need it as much as everyone that goes through it does. Like the instructors. If I wasn't able to be an instructor every time, I would probably sign up for every fucking class, because we need that reboot every time.
Right, it's therapeutic.
It is 100%. We get so much out of it and so much fulfillment out of it, and reset and reminders, shit that we've heard hundreds of times. Like, shit, I need to get that more in line myself. I'm fucking up in that area myself. And someone that maybe you're bringing up about your relationship, your life, I'm like, shit, I need to get as much, or else I'm a fraud if I don't, right? So it's a reset.
Yep.
So what was your least favorite part of the experience, whether evolution or task or event that you did during the project? What was your least favorite?
Well, going back to what we said, it's definitely a little sick in the head. I really didn't dislike any of it. What I did find in my own personal limits was there was one iteration where one particular person in our class was continuing to just fuck it up, and we were getting hammered by carrying the weights around the building, and we weren't making time to carry the weights around the building. And I've realized real quick that my hands and my nerves were just shit. And so I started doing this, and you guys remember, because then I went in the pull-up bars and held like this.
I don't remember anything. It's all blacked out.
That was probably my least favorite, because I'm okay with getting hammered because making a mistake every once in a while, but repetitive mistakes and like somebody's
learning the lesson, and
somebody's not catching on. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna join instructors here real quick because you're starting to really fucking piss me off. And you're not catching the hint, and you're not grasping what we're trying to get you to do. And
people always ask, they ask me, they're like, so what part did you manufacture, like when you punishing someone, for what part you manufacture? We don't need to, right?
No, we do it ourselves.
They're doing it like stupid little shit, and then they're repeating the same thing over and over again. So I get your frustration, like, fuck, I'm suffering and getting tortured. I can't even feel my hands anymore because of the stupidest, simple little piece of, lack of attention to detail that someone's having on the same task over and over. I don't even remember the situation exactly you're talking about, but I'm probably guessing whoever caused that probably didn't even make it. I don't even know. I'm not sure.
No, they didn't.
I'm sure they ended up ringing the bell if they weren't getting it over and over again.
Yeah, he was one of the individuals we actually peered out. So
that is a way you and that's the way it should be. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's real life, right?
Yeah.
Receiving and transmitting feedback is what it's all about.
Yeah.
So good stuff there. So talking about your least favorite things like that, obviously everyone, a man like yourself is not a quitter, right? But every man that says that they've never thought about throwing the towel in certain areas of life, they're fucking lying, because I know I've done it myself, and you have those moments of doubt. When you had those moments of doubt during the project, what was your internal trigger that made quitting not even an option? There's no question about it. Obviously, you're not going to quit. But what was it that you had to kind of maybe tap into here and there? And I don't want to say make you not quit, because I just know you long enough that you weren't going to quit. And what was it that made you get rid of those pieces of doubt that you had in your head?
Yeah, whenever I have moments like that where I'm like, okay, it's not so much the quit. It's like, do I really want to put myself through this shit right now? Like, like, okay, why the fuck am I doing this again? Or like, if I ever allow myself the moment to think, hey, you have a choice, I quickly squash it. I'm like, no, you don't. I always try to walk into situations like that. Like, it's not an option. It doesn't exist. It's just a bad seed. You're just like, okay, well, since that doesn't exist, then the only other thing to do is figure out the problem. Like, well, this is nothing but a problem presenting itself, and you're either gonna, okay, is it meant to be solved, or is it just meant to experience? And say, well, either way, I'm going to experience it, and I'm going to try hard to solve it and try hard to complete the iteration. But then, for me, like a long time ago, I actually failed out of a course, and person that was next to me quit. And they had an opportunity. They were golden. They could have finished. And I'm like, you motherfucker, I would give anything to be able to continue. But I failed out because I missed too many questions on a test the day before graduation. And this dude just decided to I'm done.
When he had the capability of doing it, but mentally
like,
didn't have it.
You give me your gift to fucking be able to switch spots. Like, take my test, let me fucking keep going. And it was something that I could easily have corrected or been taught to get past the things that I missed. It was a range estimation test on guessing the ranges on a rifle range, and I just missed the two range estimates, and it was too many.
So I'm guessing that stung a little bit when that happened.
It sat with me forever, And I was
did you ever think about that moment during the project?
Yeah, and part of it too was the other side is like never going home and tell my son I quit.
Imagine that. Imagine
I'm never going to allow him to know that I quit on something.
Imagine the men that, and I want to talk to the men out there that fly across the fucking country. They prepare for months. They tell their family, they tell their kids, their son, Daddy's going to become a better man. I'm going to become this badass, this modern day knight. And then they get to the point where they fucking break down. The physical part is the easy part. The physical part's fucking easy. It's just physical. You either can do it or you can't. As long as you're putting out and working fucking hard, that's the easy part. They break down mentally or emotionally, and they have to do the march in front of all their peers and ring consciously, intentionally ring a bell and say, I quit. Now they have to fly back to their family early. Just think of that. Like, think of that. To me, every time they ring, it's like that's a deep moment that they're going through, because you know what's coming for them, what they have to go and face in the future. So it sounds like that's what you couldn't even imagine. I mean, you couldn't imagine doing that.
I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it.
It just wouldn't exist. I hear you.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we had a guy who, in our class, 2 hours in, we were on the beach, did it. And he flat out, like, the thing that just infuriated me, like, went through me like a spark. And the thing he said after he rang the bell was, yeah, he goes, I've always quit everything, and my kids are going to know that I'm a quitter, and that's all they'll ever know me to be. Like, he willingly said that after ringing the bell and only being in the course for 2 hours. And
that his kids know he's a quitter. That's some fucking rough. That's some rough shit.
How can you do that? Like, I can't comprehend the mindset that it would take to be able to accept that. Like, and yet somehow that person is supposedly successful in business and other parts of his life. That, like,
it just goes to show you, to have fulfillment, you need to have it in your family, in your fitness, in your finances, in your faith in yourself to get real fulfillment. And that's like the new F-bomb we'll be adding in. It needs to be a culmination of all this, because you could have all the money in the world. If your kids know you're a fucking quitter, I don't give a shit if I had billions of dollars. I think my son thinks and knows I'm a quitter. Think about that. Like, that's some deep shit. That's some, like, serious shit. And that's some fucked up shit, really. It's some
it is.
Like, that's someone doing a disservice to the future generations. And
I'd rather my kid knew I killed somebody than to know I was a quitter.
That's some real shit right there. Some real shit right there, let me tell you. So let's shift gears a little bit from that. And well, actually, speaking of the quitting, you had the highest percent. You had a 50% dropout rate, I think, right, of your class. Yeah,
we had 5 out of 9.
Oh, so higher then. Okay, yeah, wow. That's because 4 graduated in your class only, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's some crazy shit. And some of them were early on too, like that one you said 2 hours in. So
2 hours in the very next morning after waking up, and then one more, and then
I can see you getting antsy just thinking about it. Like, how can someone go back to their kid? And it's some serious. This is why I want to drive this point home to the viewers watching that, and the men watching. Like, your kids fucking deserve better than that. Your future grandchildren that don't even fucking exist deserve better than that. Like, think about that. Think about that. Because something's a little uncomfortable. Like, easy is fucking easy. Easy leads to an average, miserable fucking life. Hard shit, doing hard shit, accomplishing hard shit leads to success, leads to victory, leads to being a role model to your kids that you're looking to be. When they look at you, they say, I want to be like that man, not look at you like I did to my father and say, I want to be the fucking exact opposite of that man. Like, that's some deep shit, like what you're saying here about that this guy told you that, and I didn't even know that happened. Yeah. And it's getting me pissed off here. I'm getting fucking fired up. And now everyone that I've done these interviews with have just made it 10 times worse for the people that are going through it. So now you're making me hear this stuff of, like, what went on behind the scenes, because these are things that the instructors never hear about, right? Because you're doing that behind the scenes. And you're here now to help that group out. And I don't know if you know, there's 2 guys here in this group coming in that actually rang the bell in previous classes. Oh. 2 candidates coming in this group tomorrow that you're helping out with that rang the bell. One from the last class, and one from a couple classes ago. There's 2 guys coming in that are looking to redeem themselves, so I at least going for a second try. But just hearing this story is fucking pissing me off, and it's unacceptable. Men, this is unacceptable. Like, this is not what a man in this world is meant to be like. You're meant to do more than that, so realize that shit.
It's your legacy. You're corrupting your legacy.
I hear you 100%. Let's before shit just goes crazy and I start throwing shit, because this is getting me fucking pissed off and I'm getting ready for tomorrow. Before that, let's just switch gears. This is a little one. This will go for a ride. We'll get some frequent flyer miles on this little one. That's a light one. So let's switch gears to what was some of your favorite events or evolutions that happened during your experience in the project?
Well, one that sticks out most with me is during FTX, I had the pleasure of sitting directly across the table from you and Instructor Ray when you flooded his mask, and Ray proceeded to put on the show of drowning in the mask, and you were choking him out, and I'm sorry I couldn't keep a straight face. Like, that shit was hilarious. Because I'm like, okay, there's no way. So
there's other guys there. Let's not give away too much information. Let's not spoil it for too many people. But the other guys, they're sitting there, they're seeing if this is happening to a Navy SEAL, like, he can't even handle it. How the fuck am I going to do it? And it's the way it went. And I was making sure that he was